The Nifty is up about 18 points. That's 11,464 thereabouts.
Nifty, which is up around 0.5%. We have the Bank Nifty, which is up around 0.3%.
65 points in the Nifty, 11,512.
I've seen some market rallies, but this March really is something else. It's a phenomenal rally.
The Nifty Bank up 400 points.
Bulls Wall Street, the Nifty adds over 1% to end the March series above 11,550. Sensex also rallies to close with gains of 400 points today. Financials and technology stocks lead the market to fresh 6-month closing highs.
The Nifty Bank rally continues as the index posts another record high. All 12 index stocks end in the green, with ICICI and State Bank of India being the top performers. NBFCs also do well.
P&L Enterprises could pick up some equity in Dewan Housing and may also buy some retail loans. The DHFL stock rallies 9% on the CNBC-TV18 News break, though DHFL remains non-committal. Bandhan Bank also surges on positive management commentary. The bank's CEO says only SEBI approval is awaited for the completion of the Griha Finance merger.
The jet stock cools off after a near 20% rally this week. CNBC-TV18 learns that private equity firm TPG and Ethiad Airways have shown interest in the airline. Sources say NIIF may also bid with a strategic partner. That is a CNBC-TV18 exclusive.
IT stocks rally thanks to 2 months strong hiring trend. Nifty IT gains more than 1%, led by TCS and Infosys. HCL Tech and L&T Technologies also rally after rating upgrade from Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Those were the top 5 headlines from Dalal Street. Hello and welcome to Markets Today Talk Back, the show where we tell you everything that happened in those 6 hours of trading in just 5 headlines. And mind you, today, that was 6 hectic hours. It was expiry, and it was an expiry of a contract which saw the index rising to 6-month highs. With me, my colleague Prashant Nair. Hi.
Hi. What a move, and what an absolutely stunning month of March we've had. Over the next 30 minutes, we will, of course, talk and deep dive into the market and what happened today. We'll tell you the big stories of the day. And, of course, we answer your questions. Our experts are joining in to help us do that. Mayuresh Joshi and technical expert Mitesh Thakkar. Mayuresh and Mitesh, thanks very much for joining us here on the show. But before we get to the Q&A, let's quickly wrap up the day's trading action. I think, you know, you can describe today's market action interchangeably with the past so many days, Lata. I mean, you know, financials leading from the front. I mean, those same bunch of large private bank names doing very well. No,
absolutely a Goldilocks scenario for emerging markets. The falling yields are seen as maybe a slowdown in the developed markets, but not so much in the emerging markets. Asia was still mixed on worries. But, you know, we had a great advantage. We had bond yields falling. We have crude falling on growth fears. But FII flows continuing into India, clearly making a differentiation that either emerging markets in general or India in particular at the moment is not as affected by the slowdown fears as apparently the developed world is. So that, as you say, is the common theme that has persisted through March and accentuated today. So you saw this expiry-related buying also coming into play. When the contract expires, people who were daring to take short positions earlier also thought, or also usually come in and cover. There are, of course, some who can even carry forward their short positions, but many thought it prudent to cover. You know, 11,530 on previous occasions tended to be the resistance mark. So at that point, people still went short. But when the market, you know, when the Nifty went past that level, then people had to cover in a hurry. And practically in minutes, we went from 530 all the way past 550, ending at 570. It was just a rush of blood, as it were, once 530 was emphatically conquered. I mean, 11,530. And as we pointed out in the headlines, usually it is either banks or technology which has been leading the charge. Today, both worked.
Absolutely.
But for more granular detail.
Yeah. So banks, I mean, Lata, so PSU banks in terms of sectoral gainers was the number one sort of gaining sector. IT did well, as you said. Number 2, real estate has been doing very well. and the FMCG was the other index which was looking pretty strong. And of course, the Bank Nifty, which is at a record high. So, you know, I think out of the two, between the PSU Bank and private bank, by close, PSU banks, many more PSU banks were up as compared to private banks. But I mean, of course, in terms of the Bank Nifty, private banks have larger weight. That was the case. Top Nifty gainers, Indiabulls Housing, you know, sprung a 9% gain out of the blue. So that was a big one. 811. Yesterday's close was 750. Z was up 5%. Adani Ports was up strongly. HCL Tech, there was an upgrade. We'll talk about that later. UPL and State Bank of India. These are large Nifty gainers. There were some losers as well, but nothing of note. So I'm skipping that and going straight to what happened in the broader market. Take a look at this. And financials, really. DHFL. We broke that story. We'll get to that in a bit. Big gains. Bandhan Bank was strong. There was news flow there. Bank of Baroda, another PSU name. And then there were more PSU names. Indian Bank, Allahabad Bank, Syndicate Bank, which did very well. HEG and Graphite up on your screen. There was Indiabulls Ventures, which was up with large volumes. Dish TV for the third day running. Bajaj Holdings, Arvind, Take Solutions, Rain Industries. There was L&T Technology Services, which was up sharply. Panacea Biotech, J&K Bank. I mean, you know, then I could go on with this. Market breadth wasn't, I mean, it was not outstanding, but it was basically about 1,100, 1,200 stocks higher and about 600 stocks lower. So it wasn't completely one-sided, but it just seemed that way because what was up so much more. Lata.
No, I take your point. Actually, it's even otherwise 2:1 in terms of gainers versus losers. So maybe over 60% of the market is higher than where it was yesterday. But then, yeah, it is an emphatic 1% rally across no matter which index you pick. So you get the feeling that maybe the breadth could have been even better. But let's find out where we get from here. Now that 11,550 resistance has been crossed, do we get to 11,760, the prevailing all-time high, in a hurry? Let's ask our experts, Mitesh and Mayuresh Abitas. Mitesh, that question is straight up your alley. You tell us, do you stay positionally long now?
Yes, Lata. I think we've kind of booked out a few days back around 11,520 levels and got into longs again as the 11,550 level was crossed today. I think 11,700, 750 zones. So while 760 was the high, I think the hourly closing chart suggests that there's congestion between 11,700, 750 levels. So that remains the first target on the upside.
All right. With that, second headline?
Second story. And like the last many days, the second story remains banks. The rally in the Nifty Bank continued, and that index ended at a record closing high for another day. Nifty Bank has now posted a record close in 12 out of the 18 sessions this month. All 12 index stocks gain, with ICICI Bank and State Bank of India leading the way. NBFCs and housing finance companies also had a pretty decent run. Indiabulls Housing rallied 8%. There was Edelweiss, Muthoot Finance and Shriram Transport, which were up 2% apiece as well.
Okay. So with that, let's get to the first query. There is Sonaman Kumar. Sonaman Kumar has written to us with a question on ICICI Bank. He says he has 1,500 shares purchased at 280 rupees. Wow. He has been holding them for the past 3 years. He asks if he should hold or sell at the current, great levels. Mayuresh, what would you advise him? 280 is his purchase price, ICICI.
Evening, Lata. No, a super price at which he has bought the stock. A clear hold from my side. I think the worst expectations from banks is largely behind, both in terms of reported asset quality numbers, what probably happens in terms of the elevated provisioning as well. So what the bank has probably done over the past few quarters in terms of the recognitions of its watch list, having its provisioning go up. And again, I think the retail component as a percentage of advances has also moved higher, around that 50% odd mark. So I think the liability franchise is extremely solid at this point of time. Asset quality pressures are dwindling downwards, which means credit costs also should start peaking downwards, reflecting very, very positively in ROAs and ROEs over the next couple of years. So yes, a clear hold from my side.
Okay. Well, actually, 256 is the 52-week low. And if you have bought it at 280,
almost there, yeah.
Damn good gains. Mitesh, chartically, where is ICICI Bank's next resistance? It is at a 52-week high.
So Lata, I think it's cleared all the resistances. 380 was the last one. Now you have projections and the targets are close to about 450, 460 to begin with, maybe even higher. But that's the working target which I would give him for the next 3 to 4 months.
Okay, so good for Sonaman, who has this stock.
Absolutely. We move on to the third story, the third headline of the day. And this is a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. Sources tell us that Piramal Enterprises is eyeing DHFL assets and may also actually end up picking up some stake in the company. The DHFL stock surged 9% on the back of this particular news. Abhishek Kothari is joining in with all of the details. Abhishek, what are you picking up?
It's not they're not talking. It's just to begin with, nothing has been taken to the board level which needs disclosure. So to begin with, sources tell CNBC-TV18 that Piramal Enterprise may be the strategic investor who will come into DHFL. So Piramal Enterprise will buy some stake in terms of equity in DHFL and also buy some assets or the retail portfolio of DHFL. Now, the stake buy and the asset is actually a huge number. So let's say out of 100%, 85% will be asset buy and 15% will be the 10 to 15% will be the equity. So this deal is huge in nature in terms of the size. Therefore, Piramal may sell its investment in other groups that it has made. Due diligence for DHFL has already been completed. Now we got clarification from Piramal saying that there is no proposal which has been placed at the board, and DHFL has also clarified that there is no further development with regard to strategic investor that has been taken to board. So whenever that gets taken to board, they will disclose it to the exchanges. Back to you.
Okay, thanks for that. So let's make it very clear. DHFL announced to the exchange that we said some time back that we are looking for a strategic investor. There is no further development for us to report. So, well, they are looking for a strategic investor. This is one name doing the rounds. Question from Asim Prasad, who has written to us. He says he has, again, 1,500 shares of DHFL purchased at 230 rupees. Says he has been holding it for the past 7 months. Should he hold or should he sell? Yet again, Mayuresh, what would you advise?
Again, it's a perspective, Lata. So I think, so again, it's a perspective, Lata. So what probably happens and transpires with this set of news is going to have a ruling in terms of how the price moves at this point of time. But our focus in terms of NBFC still remains on those solid ones, I think, where capital adequacy remains strong, where the leverage component is less. And in that respect, again, I think stocks like, say, a Chola Finance, for example, where I think the dynamics look far, far better over the next few quarters, both in terms of reported numbers, the AUM growth, the asset quality, GNP is at 2.7, net NPA is at 1.5. I think it looks pretty attractive to us at this point of time. So my choice probably goes towards the better quality rated NBFCs like a Chola Finance or even a Muthoot Finance, which we have been liking for a length of time.
Okay. Bandhan Bank was the other one, which also was higher in trade on positive management commentary. Speaking with CNBC-TV18, Managing Director and CEO of Bandhan Bank, Chandrasekhar Ghosh, said that there is huge growth opportunity on the microcredit front. He also added that the only SEBI approval was awaited for completion of GRU's merger with the bank. Listen in.
As of now, there is a 77 million household reached by the all MFI bank together. If I see that in the 20% of these people are overlapping, then maybe the 62 million family they have been reached, and minus with a 168, that means 106 million family till now eligible to get the microcredit loan. So in that sense, the growth is coming to this this is the new customer. We have already received the approval from Reserve Bank of India. So we are now waiting for the SEBI approval.
Okay, so that's the chairman and founder of Bandhan Bank saying that that transaction is complete. We have to take a break. We're going to come back with more headlines, questions, answers. We leave you with some market opinion we got from Arvind Sanger of Geosphere Capital Management. He says the Indian market stands to gain up to maybe 25% over the next 12 months. That's a tall number. Listen in.
The recovery from some of the weakness that we've seen and some of the fundamentals that have been, that have been somewhat disappointing in terms of, auto sales, commercial vehicle sales, and other economic measures which have looked weak. The assumption is that that will recover, and all of those can give us an upside of 20 to 25% in the Indian market if the economic outlook in FY20 delivers, reasonably good growth. We won't look for fantastic growth, but 10 to 15% growth will give us that kind of outcome. Our central case is, very modest slowdown, but not a recession in the West, in which case we're more inclined to buy into weakness rather than the selling strategy. We're actually finding some of the NBFCs that have been extremely badly hurt to be a little bit more interesting. Those NBFCs had gotten very expensive, and we had traded off all of them last year, but some of them have come back to levels where I think that some of them are now trading at discounts to some of these banks. And yes, their growth will not be quite as heavy as before, but that is another area where investors should look at some of the higher quality NBFCs that have gotten sold off.
We've been taking your questions. Mayuresh and Mitesh have been running us through their views, and of course, we move forward to the fourth headline of the day. And this one also has been a pretty consistent headline now for the last so many days. Jet Airways stock cooled off after a nearly 20% rally this week. CNBC-TV18 has learned from sources that private equity arm TPG and Etihad Airways are interested in bidding for the debt-laden carrier. Ritu Singh joins in with further details. Ritu, what are you picking up?
With just 2 weeks left to go for the deadline to submit expressions of interest to acquire Jet Airways, we're given to understand that at least 3 players have initiated preliminary talks with the lenders of Jet Airways. The first and surprising one is Etihad Airways itself, which had initially shown an interest in exiting the airline. But now with Naresh Goyal out of the picture, we're given to understand that Etihad Airways may actually look to acquire up to 49% stake in the airline. Do remember, once the lenders take majority control, Etihad's stake will fall to 12%. So it may look to acquire an additional 37%, some of it also from Naresh Goyal. The second player that has shown an interest is TPG, which already has interests in the aviation sector. But we're given to understand that if it makes a bid for Jet Airways, it may look to partner with another player. The third player that has already initiated discussions is NIIF. Do remember, it was originally part of the resolution plan and was expected to pick up 20% stake. But now we're given to understand that under the auction process, it may even partner with another player to make a bid for Jet Airways. The other name that has, of course, been doing the rounds is Tata Group, but we're given to understand that at least as far as lenders are concerned, Tatas have not directly approached them. So it remains to be seen whether or not they put in a bid. Do remember, the deadline to submit expressions of interests ends on the 9th of April.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Ritu. That's the developing story. So, Mayuresh, which airline do you prefer? Sometime back there was an ad, isn't it? Which shaving cream do you prefer? Something like that. Which airline stock do you prefer, Mayuresh?
I prefer the airline will take me to the destination on time. So
okay.
I think when you're
so Indigo, is it?
So yes, again, I think when you're probably talking about normalization expected to happen, planes coming back to a certain extent for Jet, the bias towards Indigo, specifically in terms of rates moving higher, yields moving in their favor, I think that does get curtailed a little bit. But I think the safeguard measure that Indigo probably has in terms of flights on time, you've probably got the operating dynamics still favoring them, both from a revenue per available seat kilometer and a cost per available seat kilometer perspective. And again, I think largely you're probably talking about the 2 variables for the sector as a whole, crude and the rupee movement. So I think both these factors are probably in favor of the aviation company, and the strongest time at this point of time, the summer season. So yes, anybody holding on Indigo should continue holding.
Okay.
Mitesh, same kind of view? Which is the best chart there in that space?
To be very honest, I think, Jet is a chart which I'm not very comfortable in the sense that I'm not very clear as to how fast it's moving and where the direction will move. Indigo, I think we had a very strong coverage when the entire thing started at around 1250, 1300 zones. I think that's when we were very hot on Indigo. So for the time being, I'll avoid both of them. I think, I don't have a very clear hang of the stock charts in the short term.
Okay, so you shall not travel. Thanks a lot for that, Mitesh. We'll come back with the fifth headline, the last headline for the day. IT stocks moved higher in trade thanks to a 2-month strong hiring trend. The Nifty IT gained more than 1%, led by TCS and Infosys. HCL Tech and L&T Technologies also were big gainers. Both these stocks actually rallied probably because of an earnings upgrade from Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Anisha is joining us now with the highlights of that report.
Well, yes, apart from rupee stability, what aided sentiment today for the IT sector was positive brokerage action. So Bank of America Merrill Lynch has actually upgraded HCL Tech as well as L&T Technologies, and both of these stocks were soaring in trade. For HCL Tech, they have now raised the target price to around 1,250 versus 1,060 earlier, and they believe that the revenue growth rate is expected to accelerate in FY20 after 2 years of slowdown. As far as the margins are concerned, they believe that even if there is some dilution on account of deal ramp up, it is the software products business that would make up for the margin dilution, and overall the margins are expected to remain stable. Moving on to L&T Technologies then, wherein they have upgraded the stock to buy versus the neutral, and the target price has nearly doubled to around 1,650 versus 800 earlier, and they believe that it is the large projects inflow that will really lift the growth visibility for the company, and hence they're expecting a revenue growth of 15% CAGR over the coming few years, and the margins are also expected to remain stable given the better pricing power. Infosys too was in focus because they made an acquisition of around 1,000 crores, buying around 75% stake of ABN AMRO Stater, so that stock was also in focus. Back to you.
Okay, so Anisha, thanks very much for that. HCL Tech and L&T Technology Services in focus. We've got a question on Infosys, though. Angad has tweeted to us with a query on Infosys. He is holding 100 shares of Infosys. His cost is 1,180 rupees a share. He would like a short-term view on the stock. I think this is pre-bonus, pre-split, pre-corporate action price, I think, because, I mean, on the Infi chart, the high is about 772. Mitesh, what would you say? Infi, how's it looking?
Yeah, so I think it's near to his price. I think it's 2 by 3. I think that's what the corporate action was, and very close to his price. I think, hold on, Infosys, while the entire IT pack did correct a bit, it's again gaining momentum. Secondly, I think Infosys hardly corrected. It's still outperforming most of the IT stocks, and I'm looking at a target of around 850 if you give it about 2.5-3 bands. So clearly a hold for me.
Oh, clearly a hold. All right. Actually, we're out of time. So on that note, to Mitesh and Mayuresh, thank you very much for joining us and taking questions of our viewers.
Well, that brings us to a close on this edition of Markets Today Talk Back. Thank you very much for staying with us. More coming up on the other side.